Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. First of all, I wanted to give you my colleague's apologies. Given the current circumstances, he had to be, let's say, on-site, working on what's currently occurring in our country. I'm going to present the National Cybersecurity Strategy. Our security for 2019 is based, of course, on the strategy from 2017, which was the general framework on which was built up all of our strategies against terrorism, or, as is the case, cyber threats. We have cyber threats that affect or may affect our national security, and we also have some challenges. Challenges are not quite a threat yet, but may potentially be. For example, vulnerability of cyberspace. The document also differentiates between cyberspace and other environments. There are common global spaces, together with ultra-terrestrial and maritime space. Cyberspace also requires special attention because it's a very open space with no general sovereignty and jurisdiction. It's easily accessible. Anyone can access the cyberspace at very low cost, and the difficulty is 8%. Why this new national cyber security strategy? As I was saying, it's based on the strategy from 2017, which is a national framework for security in Spain. But there have been some events since 2013 and 2017 and 2019. The national security scheme has been modified in Spain. It has been amended, and it has affected security of public institutions. Criminal law, criminal code, and criminal procedural law have been amended to include cybercrime. This also has had an impact on the strategic frame. But most of anything, there has been a royal decree passed in 2018, which provides a regulatory framework and governance model for these issues. And throughout the recent years, there have been more and more challenges, social challenges, financial challenges, revolving around cyber security. And there is a sort of cyber war, which is not quite a war per se, but it may have very harsh implications. And there have been other events, for example, security during national elections. We saw how the U.S. elections was affected by a cyber attack, which may have had an influence on the final results. And also the final conclusions of a commission that was convened in December 2018 for the first time, with a number of experts who've analyzed cybersecurity problems in Spain and the rest of the world, and they have issued a series of conclusions that we have tried to adopt in our new document, in our new framework. There are new challenges, new ideas. We knew a 2.0 strategy, a more advanced strategy that gives cybersecurity the importance it deserves. In 2018, the National Security Council, chaired by the President of Spain, passed a procedure to draw up this strategy. And this is the first thing I wanted to talk about, the procedure as such. Unlike the National Security Strategy from 2013, we've tried to have very wide participation, and we also wanted all of you, all organizations, companies, and institutions to have an opportunity to provide your ideas and opinions. We did this through the National Security Council. They coordinated all of this. A technical committee was created with specialized organizations such as INCIBE itself, the National Critical Infrastructure Protection Center, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, and their cybersecurity ambassador. And the novelty here was an expert committee with 40 experts from all kinds of companies, organizations, and academia that were gathered here in this commission to create a sort of an intelligence and a network to feed into the document. The first draft was drawn up in our committee, in our commission. It was presented before the technical committee. Some improvements were included. And then there was a sector conference for national security. This conference is the let's say, represents the relationship between the central government and the regional governments. And so all regional governments had a chance to provide their opinions, and new elements were included in the document. And so, with all of this, we've been able to move from a more technical document in 2013 that was rather focused on very specific issues, given the maturity of the industry back then. It was more about coordination, collaboration. And so from this 2013 document, we've moved to a more inclusive document with participation of the civil society, citizenship, and here the individual is the center. As you know, cybersecurity is important for everyone. So we need to move from awareness to commitment, a commitment by individuals, a commitment by organizations who are on the avant-garde in this battle, but also all of the professional companies that make this national security network in the private sector. This new strategy also considers the UN, the chart of the United Nations. It's more focused on reinforcing capacities of the entire system. And it also aims at creating the very much needed security culture at a national level. We want to create an integral cybersecurity plan in order to consider all the nuances in the industry. I'm not going to describe this document in detail. I will just briefly touch upon some of the most relevant aspects. There are 5 chapters and an executive summary. First, the special circumstances of cyberspace are described. Chapter 2 tackles challenges and threats. Chapter 3 talks about principles and objectives. Chapter 4 talks about concrete, specific courses of action, and then lastly, model of governance. The document from 2017 classified cyber threats in 2 categories. First, cyber threats as such, more technical threats, that's the one that we are more used to facing on a daily basis, and then the use of cyberspace with malicious purposes. And here, cybercrime, lack of information, cyber terrorism play a very important role. So all of the threats that are let's say, presented in the cyberspace. And so in this regard, there are state players, there are third-party players, and their main goal is to, let's say, harm or jeopardize the stability of a country or a company, or cyber spy, or doing cyber espionage, because it's easier. And in this regard, cybercrime has become a way of life for many criminals, and it has the singularity that it's organized crime in most of the cases. Privacy of individuals is also jeopardized here. There are four main principles also included in the national security strategy. The action unicity, let's say, working in the same direction at the same time. We have some weaknesses in this regard, but we also have some strengths in Spain. We are very much specialized on working on a regional level. This is a strength. Spain has been able to take advantage and harness that strength, and we have moved forward, but also worked collaboratively. The second element is anticipation. We need to stop performing post-crime assessments and be able to anticipate through awareness, through information, through a general commitment, and tackle those cyber crimes before they are committed. The third element is efficiency. We have to harness resources in the most efficient manner possible. And we're working on this. This year's national strategy tries to give everyone a role, but in an efficient, coordinated way.
And resiliency. But I'm not talking about essential services or critical infrastructures. I'm talking also about something that are reflected in the bid specifications, in our SMEs, on our citizens, in society. We have to be a resilient society, not only when it comes to cyber attacks, but also to the lack of information incidences that have been reported. The objectives of this strategy are 5, as it has been said already, and they are developed in 7 lines of action in 65 concrete actions. And I think it would be better to have a cup of coffee before reviewing those 65 lines. We have this document that's available online, but as I said, we have to reinforce the resilience of all of the systems. We have to use safely the cyberspace. We have to protect the business ecosystem. We have to develop better culture and also to foster this at an international level. I don't know if you can see this clearly due to the colors of the presentation, but without reviewing the 65 measures, I'm actually tackling the 10 top measures. We have the first certification scheme that has been developed at the European level, that has also been approved by a European agency, and here Spain has an important role to play because we, as Alberto has said, we are fostering the R&D department. We are also dedicated to fostering the exchange platforms. Another important measure will be to foster the crisis management, detection and response, among other, more intelligence, more cyber intelligence. We need this to share the information between all of the shareholders. We need more talents and professional abilities. We have to reinforce this talent. We also have to keep this talent here in Spain, because we have a lot of talent that we are in charge of fostering, but then it goes away. We have to create this national forum of cybersecurity to retain these talents. We also have measures to reinforce reinforce the national scheme when it comes to the national administration, but we also have to expand it in an efficient way. This also implies the local authorities and the Spanish regions. We have to improve the center of operations of cybersecurity of the central administration. This plays an important role. We have another important topic, which is the transferring of cybersecurity to the criminal code department. This is another measure that we could improve, and we have many other incidents, and Alberto has mentioned 100,000 almost, and then we will have a look of the record of incidences, and then this will be translated in some differences. So this is why we have to close this gap, and we have to foster this judicial cooperation at a national and local level. As I have said before, we also have to foster measures to improve the SMEs and micro SMEs security. We also have to foster public policies, because we still have a long way to go, and cybersecurity plays a crucial role. And last but not least, I'd like to highlight the Cybersecurity Forum, and I will tackle this more into detail in the future. Well, when it comes to the last chapter, this strategy will reinforce through the Law Decree 12/2018 will reinforce the governance system that has been established, because so far we had a National Security Council in which we had the ministers, the president, and many other governors, with consultancy to many cyber departments. We had a situation committee that I'm sure you have seen on the news, which is part of this situation committee, and is in charge of giving advice to the government in times of crisis. We have a permanent commission on cybersecurity that has been working on the WannaCry attacks, where we have improved coordination, and this is where we have presented the organisms that actually are part of INCIBE. We have many other CNS and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, among others, and we have here big incidences that can play an important role and are crucial for our society. This was created since the WannaCry attacks in 2017, and I hope that the regulations of the development of the Royal Decree 12/2018 will be improved. The Cybersecurity National Forum is important, and I'm also going to talk about the national authorities, as it's included in the regulations. And now a cornerstone, which are the cyber warriors. We have an officer of public and private domain. Actually, this is an association that has grown a lot. We have the CSIRTS. This is part of the firm, and we have many others. And I'd like to also talk about the law enforcement bodies. This highlights the synergies created when it comes to cybersecurity here in Spain. With regard to the firm we are working on, this firm we are working actually on the format, and our objective is for this to be a firm of firms. This is to actually highlight the presence of many people and many firms. Our goal is to gather many associations, businesses, professional associations, organisms that are related to cybersecurity, and in a way or another they can express their opinion and to participate actively in the cybersecurity action in Spain. The developed principles have to be transparent, that goes without saying. It has to be an organism that will be part of the cybersecurity organism, and they have to be completely transparent. It has to be accessible so that everybody can access to all of the documents that will be created. And we also have to be flexible, cross-cutting, not only focus on cybersecurity. We also have to talk about policies, legal part, participation. This is everybody who's willing to participate can participate. Engagement. If you're part of the forum, you will be asked to be committed. And then a certain reciprocity. This is to have a certain feedback for all of the participants. And with all this, what we try to do is a cyber persistency. This is a new word from Mar Lopez, my boss. And actually, I'm saying this because I think it's an important concept. The threats are cyber persistent, and we have to be more cyber persistent. And I insist on this because I don't know if you know that, but on one of the reports that have been published, an international one, when it comes to the level of maturity of cybersecurity of the different states, is the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union of the UN, and we have behind the United States, France, UK, Estonia, Lithuania, and Singapore, and we are actually one step ahead of countries like Canada, among others, and Japan. So I think that we're doing things well. We're making the most of our resources. We are a country that's characterized because we work in a coordinated way, and this is what we're doing. We're paving the way, and we have to do this together. And this is a brief summary of the different measures that I have mentioned during my presentation. And without further ado, thank you very much for your attention, and I remain at your disposal. Thank you.